Well, let's continue with the actually most challenging continuation, the d takes c3 if he captures the pawn. Yeah, this is the most challenging. Usually in the gambit lines, question is that if the opponent is capturing, like for example king's gambit, e4, e5, f4, also the question is if he captures. Yeah, so here also d takes c3. Knight takes. And okay, let's see, for example, d6. Yeah, just a normal, solid continuation. Usually in the Sicilians, black plays d6 because tapping the e5 a bit, so prepares for knight f6, and also opens the bishop's diagonal. However, there are other systems also when e6 instead of d6, because then this bishop's diagonal has open. In the Morra it is not so common, but we will also see similar things. Knight f3, of course, continue the development. And knight f6. Yes, because knight c6 will be transposing to the knight c6 lines when he starts with knight c6. Knight f6 is just the logical. And let's see how to play now. Because first of all, if we want, we can transposing with the bishop c4 to that lines. Because knight c6 is transposing again, e6, castle knight c6 also. But can we punish him? e5 exclamation mark. So with d6 seems to be he avoided a bit the break with e5, but he didn't, because what is the general point? The general point is that if d takes e5, then queen takes d8, king takes d8. Yeah, because here there are several moves. Knight takes e5. Yeah, we will still study the knight g4 and knight fd7 also. This is which I checked. So d takes e5, queen d8, king d8, knight takes e5. Bishop c4 is also an option to don't take back immediately. First player developing move and attack the f7. That is completely fine. e6, knight takes e5, king e7. He just protected the f7, but we can feel that here we also have a great compensation for the pawn because the king is in the middle, moreover blocking his own bishop. So his situation is also not so easy here at all. So knight takes e5 and king e8. Maybe this is even a bit more accurate, this knight takes e5, because let's see, for example, bishop e6 would come, then bishop f4, knight bd7, and rook d1 is the most accurate. Long castle seems to be more tempting because it's even a more developing move as castled, but it says it's a bit more dubious, a little bit more, yeah, than the rook d1, more not so accurate like that, because king e8 and bishop e2, rook c8. And there is some counterplay on the c file, but let's see what is the difference. If rook d1 and then he would play king e8, then we can play knight b5. Maybe this is the point, threatening with knight c7, and if rook c8, then we take on a7, and suddenly he's in trouble immediately. So that's why, yeah, long castle, king e8, knight b5, then rook c8 check, so that is nothing, and then a6. The knight has to leave. So little nuances there are between moves. And if bishop e2, rook c8, black is a pawn up. Okay, white has obviously some compensation, but not so clear how do we continue still yet. Okay, so rook d1, rook c8 also here. Bishop b5, continue the development. Moreover, take pressure on the knight. This is actually an ideal position for white. This is which we can dream in the Morra, Smith Morra, because we sacrifice the pawn, but we have a huge material advantage, a huge development advantage for that, full of pins. Knight is active, threatening here, bishop also, so it's just excellent. A6, bishop d7, knight d7, and of course, after some time coming with some sacrifice, rook takes d7 exclamation mark again, bishop takes, knight takes f7, king e8, knight takes h8. At this moment, white is a clear piece up, however, the knight is a bit trapped on h8. g5, bishop e5, rook c5, bishop d4, rook c4, knight e2, and we just protected. What is the point of g5? If we take, he would like to play bishop g7, win back the knight, and also the bishop is still active on the long diagonal also. So obviously we don't want to play that. Obviously bishop e5 is just more important. And we gained first the long diagonal, and this is also tempo, so he can't play e5. Can't keep the fifth rank also, because for example if he comes here, then okay, at least I can play castle, and if e5, then maybe just bishop b6 and the rook is trapped. This is the easiest way. Perfect. Okay, let's go back. This was the bishop e6 variation here, after knight takes e5, king e8. Bishop e6, by the way, a bit ugly also, because block his own e-pawn. Yeah, so usually we don't really like this. Okay, he can continue the bishop's development with g6, bishop g7, but better to don't put there. Let's see, king e8 and bishop f4. Bishop f4 is a very normal developing continuation. Let's see how about knight b5 instead, because this is also tempting continuation. Knight a6, bishop e3, e6, and okay, also we have kind of compensation, but still not so clear how we will do any kind of breakthrough. Maybe he can finish the development. Okay, I can take back the a7 later, but not sure. So let's go back, let's see bishop f4, e6, and long castle. Bishop c5, also he continues the development, and okay, now, just now when he wants to play castle, we should already do something attacking stuff. Knight b5. Actually there is a very tempting rook d8 check, but unfortunately it is not working, because the knight will be trapped. Maybe king e7, knight h8, and okay, at least he can take this f2 pawn also, but maybe he can trap our knight quickly. Knight c6, bishop d7, and finally we will have a piece down. So it wasn't a really good business here. So knight b5 and knight a6. Yeah, now there is the same motif. And bishop c4, and also continue the development, because knight d6 check would be a tempting move, but unfortunately also not the most accurate, because takes, and he has kind of if knight e4, maybe we have kind of bishop b5 check also, or rook d4, and this knight can be trapped. Very interesting lines. Let's see this little bit. So it should have been take yet, but now knight c5, and he should activate the knight, because yeah, it was out of play. Also come here. Rook d8 has the same problem like before. The knight will be in trap on h8, and in case of bishop b5 check, just king e7, and I think black is okay here. Black is okay because even if rook h d1, he can play knight d5, and it's kind of trap. So it's not so easy for him. Okay, so bishop c4 and knight h5. Okay, but let's see, because there are several other moves also. How about, for example, castle? Ah, no, sorry, he can't play castle because he moved with the king. Yeah, it's very important and shouldn't forget. No castle. No castling because king takes d8 was already before. So that is a very, very big advantage. That's why we can continue the development without any problem. Yes, and if the king goes to e7, it's also nothing special. Maybe knight d3 seems to be a good move to attack his bishop. If the bishop goes, then we go bishop d6. And we have just a very good position. Okay, how about the greedy bishop takes f2 if he just take the pawn? Now black has already 2 pawns up, but of course we will come with knight d6. This was the general idea. King e7 and bishop takes a6. But why we took it? B takes, of course, because the following continuation is important. With bishop takes a6, b takes a6, we based the c6 square of the knight. We don't jump there immediately, but we base that. Otherwise, with this beautiful bishop 5, we would take this a6 knight, which is out of play completely. But now we will come with a brilliant continuation here. Knight f5 double exclamation mark. Wow, what a nice move, because e takes f5, he will get checkmate with knight c6. If the king is going to e6, then rook d6 checkmate. Of course on e8 he can't go because rook d8 checkmate. So king f8 is the last try, but it's also checkmate because check, knight e8, bishop d6, followed by rook takes e8, and back rank checkmate for the black king. Okay, so e takes f5 is not working, that's why it's checkmate immediately. King f8. Yeah, because if the king would go to e8, it's even worse, because we take here king f8, bishop h6, and yeah, it's also kind of winning. We have so king f8, but this also doesn't help. Rook d8 check, knight e8, and knight d6, bishop b7, knight takes b7, and we protected, and it's a piece up. Okay, he has 2 pawns for it, but we can feel that it's not enough, especially with the double A pawns. Alright, okay. So bishop takes f2 was not good, but we could feel that somehow. So let's see how about knight h5, little bit attack our bishop and maybe make some difficulties there. Bishop g5, f6. It's very strange at first sight why bishop g6 we want to get an own fork. But the point is that g4. And okay, he takes one of our piece, of course the bishop he will, and we take the h5, and okay, his pawn structure will be also a bit weaker, our also, but still the e5 knight is there, controlling the important squares. So Okay, black is still a pawn up, but very hard to continue for him properly. For example, let's play a few moves. For example, rook f8. Activate the rook. f3. Protect this pawn. Development is he can't because it's hanging. This knight also can't move. This bishop can, but what is the check? I come here. And then knight d6 check, I can also come. If he would play rook f5, rook he1, and protect the e5 knight, stabilize that more. And white is also really okay here. Okay, so somehow we can feel that this was completely good. This was a d takes e5, so very interesting because even in the end game we can have also an excellent pressure for the sacrificed material for the pawn. Okay, let's see how about knight fd7. Seems to be a passive move, but of course it's still not so easy how to play that exactly. Bishop b5. Yeah, because e6 is very tempting and we saw similar already in the previous variation, but f takes e6 and now it's not so clear how can we punish him with that. Maybe knight d4, but he jumps somewhere with the knight, maybe f6. And then e5, so I don't believe in that it can be so good. So let's see bishop b5. And knight c6, he also continued the development. How about a6 instead? It's always a question to attack the bishop, and if the bishop escapes, how is it going on? Bishop a4 and knight c6. How about b5 instead? If he even chases away the bishop. Somehow we can feel that it's dangerous move for himself, for black, because weaken this diagonal. So this diagonal, if the queen comes here, it can be problems sometimes. So bishop b3 and bishop b7, very important move, because for example knight takes e5 is losing with the typical takes, and bishop takes f7, and he lost the queen. Okay, it's very typical. He just protect, but he has to take and then it's lost. How about knight c5 if he just jump here? Bishop d5. Rook a7. Yeah, because bishop b7 looks a good move to try to exchange the bishop, simplify the position. But b4 as an excellent move, excellent intermediate move, is winning a piece immediately, because bishop d5, queen d5, and suddenly double attack. a8 rook is hanging, and the c5 knight also. So he is simply in trouble here. Okay, so let's see rook a7, b4, and knight cd7. If knight a4 instead, then knight takes a4, b takes, and of course I don't need to hurry to take back bishop e3. Rook d7. What a strange piece play. Yes, black is very passive, so white will crush him completely. Bishop takes f7, king takes, knight g5 check, king e8, knight e6, and suddenly the queen is trapped. So it was a very nice, yes, so bishop f7, nice tactical move, check. And here, doesn't matter where he goes with the king. Others maybe get checkmate also, like for example this. g6 is also very dangerous. I think it's also kind of checkmate. Okay, so king e8 and knight e6 check, and after knight, not check, attack the queen, and the queen is trapped here. Okay, so this was a knight a4, too dangerous move. let's see how about knight cd7. But here we can also continue the same idea, bishop e3, knight b6. If rook c7, we have the same motif, bishop takes f7, king takes, and knight takes b5 first. Very interesting, but why not knight g5? I think knight g5 is also good. King e8, yeah, it's also, there is the same winning, he just wanted to get even an extra pawn for it. But of course the immediate knight g5 is also completely good. Okay, so let's see knight b6. Knight b6 is a bit more logical move because he blocks the bishop diagonal and attack the bishop also a little bit, and which is more important, open up the c8 bishop's diagonal. Yeah, so opening up this is pretty important because then we can't come with this bishop takes f7, knight g5 things. Otherwise he's in big trouble, as we saw previously. But let's see, is it true? Or maybe also we have kind of attack here. And the answer is yeah, of course, yes, we have bishop takes f7 exclamation mark, king takes, knight g5 check, king e8 and e6. Yeah, usually we say that this e6 pawn is cutting the e6 pawn cuts the board, because yeah, it's just a half here, threatening with knight f7, and he can't move from this properly. Knight c6 for example, and rook c1. It's a very cool-blooded continuation. He doesn't hurry even with this knight f7 stuffs. Just come with the rook, and he will have several attacking plans here. I think even the short castle was also completely acceptable continuation. Okay, so this was also fine. Let's see how about bishop b7. Yeah, the most natural move, but somehow we can also feel that maybe there is something around his king. E takes d6. Yeah, now now bishop takes f7 is not working. Here is very important. If the bishop is coming out, then this is nothing special because the queen has a lot of squares. An extra c8, but b6, a5, those are also available now. e6 seems to be good, but f takes, bishop takes, and still not completely winning. Maybe knight c5, and this is still just okay for black. He keeps himself, chase away our bishop from there. Yeah, it's not done yet. So e takes d6 is probably a bit more accurate. E takes d6, knight g5. Yeah, this was the idea. Instead of the castling, which is also looks good, but then bishop e7, instead of that knight g5, and we attack the f7, and we would like to use out that his development is poor. Knight e5, and only now castle. And let's see how is it going on. Bishop e7. If he attacks with h6, then knight takes f7 exclamation mark, knight takes. White builds up a huge attack here, by the way. Queen h5 and d5. Because if queen f6 instead, then rook e1 check, bishop e7, rook e6. So suddenly we have a strong attack here. He doesn't have queen h4 because I can take and he's pinned. So his queen is trapped actually here. Yeah, very nice. So f6, almost in the middle of the board, and it is trapped. So d5, knight takes d5, bishop takes, bishop d5. Now also double attack, yes, the rook, the f7 also, the queen is also attacking here. And rook a7 doesn't solve anything, because rook e1 check is a killing move, because he's losing here. Okay, of course I can take with the bishop also, but queen is also fine, and white is winning. So g6, still g6 is the tricky, because if we would take it, then queen takes d5. The bishop is hanging. Or even if we give a check with queen e2, he can play queen e7, takes, bishop takes a8. Okay, this is actually also winning. It's also fine. So yeah, this is queen f3 is my main, but this is already not an only winning. He just won the same like rook a7 and then rook e1 check, and now he's in a big trouble to take it and just pin him simply. Alright, so this was the general idea. How about bishop e7 and queen h5? So we just simply continue the pressure here. Otherwise he could castle properly. Now castle is not working because checkmate. We are threatening to take on f7. So what can he do? Bishop takes g5, and we just take back with the bishop. He can't play f6 because he's pinned. The queen moves somewhere maybe. See, let's play a d7 because it's more human, and we continue the attack with f4. The knight goes somewhere and then check, and suddenly he's in a big trouble here. Okay, so g6. G6 was still the only normal continuation here. Queen h6, however, it weakened the dark squares, so we can just go forward here. Bishop f8. Yes, because if knight b d7 instead, then rook e1. Continue with the developing move, knight c5. Yeah, he would like to come out with the knights also and try to remove the b3 bishop. But queen g7, and white is winning also. Yes, his rook is in trouble. Oh, what a smart if bishop f6. Checkmate because of this pin. If rook f8, then also we have something, maybe knight takes h7 and winning. So let's see, bishop f8. Let's say that. Queen h4, go back. h6. And of course, rook e1. So we don't escape with the knight. Okay, we couldn't because we were in pin. But he is also in pin, so he can't take. This is just okay. Bishop e7. And this is a critical point because now there are the position is full of pins. e7 bishop is pinning the g5 knight. The white queen is pinning the h8 rook. This rook is also pinning this knight a little bit. But still his king is in the middle. So maybe we can try to punish him somehow. Rook takes e5 exclamation mark. So usually we come with this kind of sacrifice. D takes. Yeah, because he also couldn't play g5 because of hanging. This bishop is pinned, so there is no other move. Bishop takes f7. King f8. Yeah, because king d7 seems to be very hopeless. Queen g4 and knight e6, so he will lose some material. If king f8, then we can play knight e6 check. And the point is that everything is coming by check. King takes f7 and knight takes d8. And materially white is much better because he won the opponent queen. Okay, alright. So knight c6 is the following continuation instead of b5.